Hi, everyone, and welcome to the kickoff of our Hispanic Heritage Month activities. We have some fun events for you, and we're going to be meeting some people in our community who are with Lulac councils in our local area, and they're going to be giving us some great information. We have with us the Herencia Lulac Council number 4297 with us today, and some very special people. Ana Luisa Carrillo Tapia. I hope I did that right. And Miss Liz Rodriguez. And they're going to be, and we may have some other council members that show up, and we will introduce them. But they're here first to tell us a little bit about what LULAC is, and then we're just gonna hit them up with a whole bunch of questions, and we're gonna kind of get to know everybody. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming with us today and taking the time out to visit with us. Could you tell us what LULAC is and kind of like give us a description of what you guys do in our community?
Gracias. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, for allowing us this time to share. We are a civil rights organization, and it got started back in 1929. So, if you want to talk about any realm of society, we're in it. You want to talk about voting, you want to they used to have something called a voting tax. So, LULAC was very, very created a pivoting point because everybody should have a right to vote. And sadly, 2021, we're not taking full advantage of that right. We're involved in education. When you talk about Brown versus Board of Education, segregation, LULAC is also involved in that. You want to talk about pre-K Head Start programs, LULAC was involved in that as well. We had a program called Escuela de Cuatrocientos, which when you talk about 1929s, 1940s, 50s, the braceros, the farmers, they would move wherever the crop moved. And so the children would, end up being I guess you want to say, casualty of those moves because when they started school, they would start predominantly behind the curve. And so groups, families got together, teachers got together, and said we're going to teach these children 400 words in English to bring these children up to par so that they don't fall behind, so that they're not discriminated and they're not belittled because of it, and that they are welcomed in the classrooms as opposed to a teacher welcoming a child halfway through the school year and then having the class be delayed um, and held back a little bit because of that. So LULAC is always in the wave and making waves to make a better today so we can have an excellent tomorrow. As recent as the Vanessa Guillen issue, we were there. Um, it is now being called the Me Too movement of the military. And it started with a phone call and it started with a yes. When somebody needs help and you answer that call, irregardless whether you have experience or not, if you don't have experience, if you're scared, do it anyway. Just don't do nothing. And so history has been written with an ink that LULAC held in its hands. And now we have to follow through. And I'll take the moment and advantage to reach reach out to you today to say we are not done. That legislation still has to happen. It got introduced, but it has not been voted into law. So we are still working. There's still work to be done. And I tend to say we just got started and we're not going to stop. And everybody is welcome in our organization. We represent our community, and our community is everybody. I don't tend to say we're biracial. We're just multi-ethnic. We connect with everybody because that's what our community is, and that's what our community should be. United with our community, and therefore part of our name is the League of United Latin American Citizens. So we're united with our community, we're united our families, we're united our professionals, we unite with our law enforcement, we unite. We don't we're not here to destroy. We're here to unite and make better because we have another generation coming that has to polish up what we started and where we're at.
Cindy, you're muted.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And you said that the anyone in our community can join. Um, so it we have you have a big diverse organization and group there, and you've spoke of some of the projects that you're doing with the Me Too movement, and also the farm workers. With education, what uh, like stands out that your group is doing, right now that to get on board with?
We are There's a lot, and so let's start with taking care of our neighbors. We say that lovingly because those are our community that doesn't have a house, so we call them our neighbors. Um, there's a scripture that says, "Love thy neighbors as thyself." So when we sit down to have a meal today, we reach into our pantry, we reach into our refrigerator, and we take care of that situation. Some of our neighbors don't have that option. So our commitment as Lulac at Herencia 4297, we feed at Moss Rose, which is a low-income community center over there off of Avenue E. And so we're there. Our commitment is the second Tuesday of each month. But however, after you get to meet Mr. Benny and Mr. Henry and Mr. Jamie and Miss Linda and Miss Carmen, and after you get to meeting them, it's almost like you just have to go back and do it because a meal is necessary daily. And so again, our commitment started with one day, but eventually you find yourself back there. Because why? Because when you do something for somebody, you're not just giving somebody a plate. You're giving them somebody a sense of consideration and integrity, and saying, you know what, I don't want anything in return, and they get that meal, nothing is compromised, and they get to say thank you, and we just we just have to think about the next person. We do. So that's one of the things we're doing in our community. Um, Tending to the youth, we have a program called My Heritage, My Legacy, which is going to be happening in March. And so our culture is Latinos, Latinas. We have something called a quinceañera when a teenager reaches the age of 15. And so she's turning into a señorita. And so what we do, not only do we do a party, but we call it a party with a purpose. So these young ladies attend public speaking classes, they attend a boundaries class, they attend conflict resolution. We take a tour to a college, university, and because we have CTC in our backyard, we tend to say, go to a college that is near home because statistics prove that when you get your basic courses and you go into your next stage of life and you have that supervision, you have not only supervision, but you have that support. And so we've also taken them to Mayor Hardin Baylor, we've taken them to Texas A&M. And so why? Because we want to say there's a next level of understanding, there's a next level of education, and only through education can you go to your next level and be maintained at that level. And so we sow into their life in that. They have a dining out, which, if you've seen the movie Pretty Woman, how to set the goblet, how to set the forks, how to set your plate, how to sit properly, how to stand up. Um, and so we're very much into having that young lady know her value. And A lot of our young ladies, our parents are busy, and we don't want them to forget their value, and we don't want the parents to forget the value in their daughter. Sometimes we have foster parents. Again, same thing, same value, same gem, same treasure. We sow into them, and they start looking into tomorrow. And what we do teach them is think beyond this moment, regardless of what it is, whether it's a complex situation, whether it's a environment that you really don't want to be in. Think about beyond this moment. How is it going to affect you in a week, a year, a decade? And can you live with it, or can you change it? And if you can change it, and you want to change it, and within yourself you can't, there's people that are here to support you. There's people here that value you, and you're not by yourself. And this concept of I want to be by myself, we say no. Even an island is surrounded. And when that young lady succeeds, we all succeed. And that program is open to everybody in the community, and it costs them the big price of nothing other than a commitment to attend the classes. And we partner with other organizations to get their gowns so it doesn't become a burden. We want to celebrate our youth, and we want to say, believe in you, and we want to keep going forward. That's another program that we have. We have the get out the vote, and get people out to register to vote, whether you're new in the area, whether you change addresses. We want to make sure that your information is accurate and updated as much as is possible. We don't tell you who to vote for. We are a nonpartisan organization. We are a nonprofit organization. And when I say nonprofit, it's because that's what the government says. We are not to profit. But anytime anybody gives you a meal, anytime anybody helps you get a scholarship, anytime somebody comes along and says, I believe in you, you can do it, I believe our community profits from that. And it makes it a better community, and it keeps you to where the challenges are not going to, thinking in español, derrotarte. It's not going to destroy you. And so we're engaged in our community. Ask us where we're not involved would probably be a shorter list.
Well, before we move on, it almost seems like you guys are a family in that you're mentors and role models to your younger ladies and gentlemen. Do you see yourselves in that capacity as teaching the younger generations?
I'm going to pass that one to Liz. Liz?
Oh, sure. My First of all, my name is Liz. Thank you for having us here. And of course, we do have a LULAC Youth Leadership Program, and they're our future of tomorrow. That is why we do the events that we do. We are very strong-minded in raising money for scholarships because we give back to our local community, and it's mostly to the youth, I would say, because they're the ones that applied for it. But you could be any age actually to apply for one of our scholarships when we have them available. And since they are our future tomorrow, we want to show them open up the path of what is available to be diversified, know about a little bit about politics. What does voting do? Voting became very important in the past couple of years of what it stood for, what our country stood for, and to what we are going through right now. Um, as you said, Lulac, we seem like we're a family. Yes, we are. We're united. Uh, there is no color for Lulac. It doesn't matter if you're Hispanic, Black, white, yellow. We're all one group and with one mission. Our mission is to improve our community, educate our youth, and let them know what is available out there. There is no door that is shut that cannot be opened. That there is plenty of opportunity out there for them.
Thank you. Thank you. What do you both feel is one of the biggest struggles for someone that, of Latin descent, or even just someone culturally different? What do you feel both in our local community and in our country is the biggest struggles these days? Big question.
I'll take that one. So, a little bit about me. I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and therefore I was raised by parents. My mother had a second grade education because you're talking about somebody born in the 1920s, and so the language wasn't there coming to the United States. Um, the math knowledge wasn't there. And so we essentially, as first generation, being raised in the United States, we tend to end up being like their attorneys, like they're mini attorneys. Um, because now you're going between the teacher and them, and this is what the mom said, this is what the teacher said. A little bit of our culture that is, I don't know if it's scientific knowledge. When you talk to a Latino and we look to the ground, it's not that we're ignoring, is that I'm thinking what you're saying to me and I'm keeping it. If it's something that I'm really wanting to learn from you, usually look at the ground. I don't know why, but I myself try to break myself out of that because it is common knowledge that if I don't see you in your eyes, I'm avoiding you or I'm lying or I'm disrespecting. And so that's something that I would like to share, that when somebody you're talking to somebody and you happen to be a supervisor, you happen to be a teacher, you happen to be somebody in authority over, I would say, older Latino, maybe a third generation Latino or Latina. It's not that we're ignoring it. It's not. It's just in a sense a matter of level of respect. Because
It
now if
is.
I'm staring you in the face, now I'm disrespecting you.
Absolutely.
And so it's backwards. See, in raising my children would look at me in the face, and I had to retrain my brain. It's not that they're being disrespectful; it's that it's another level of cultural awareness. Um, are the challenges that we face, and Ms. Liz can share this as well. When somebody is seeking assistance from us, a lot of times, had the language not been a barrier, that person, we've had a lady that came from Peru, and she was a doctor in Peru, and she was actually a teacher in Peru. But when she comes out of her, I want to say her comfort zone, now she's belittled because of the language. And so that is something that shouldn't happen. But then when you put her back in her theater of operation, my goodness, she is everywhere with it, you know? And so the challenge is the language and a lot of times the patience. And it goes both ways. The patience in the person wanting to um, explain their position, their points, as much as the person that is there to listen to that person or, or lack of wanting to listen to that person or help. And so a lot of the other challenges are not knowing our responsibilities. Maybe in our countries, we watered the grass every day. Maybe in our countries, we let the dog loose and the dog came back on its own. But then we're in a different country. We're under different rules and norms that we need to learn these. Um, I wouldn't say restrictions, a new normal for them.
Right.
And so just simple things that end up being a problem. And again, the language barrier, I want to say, my opinion is 80% of that is the confidence that the person has in the other person and the confidence that we have within ourselves to relay and ask to be able to resolve whatever issue happens. If I'm already aggravated by something and somebody comes along and I don't know their language, I'm going to be less inclined to help them resolve it. Um, it's just one of those situations that if we are considerate of one another, regardless of our nationality, first language, skin color, if we just maybe trade places with that person and say, I don't know what they might be going through, let me be a little bit more considerate. There's, again, tying into the Vanessa Guillen protests, you see somebody that doesn't have visible scars, yet they are, and some are victims, and they're suffering in that silent battle. So if I could say to humanity, to my neighbors, to everybody, is to be considerate of one another, because maybe today is your best day. Today might be my roughest, but if we learn to treat each other with and be cordial and be considerate, we can definitely work this community together.
Great words. We fully agree to our college the same way. You have to listen. You have to listen. And you mentioned the language. The language does. It's one of the ways that people make assumptions. They make assumptions in intelligence. They make assumptions of where you came from. I came from New Orleans and experienced the same thing where people were like, "I don't understand what you're saying." And that was just a small fraction. Had I spoke a completely different language, that would have been very, very difficult. So I agree. Um, Ms. Rodriguez, any thoughts on struggles?
No, I ditto off of what Anna said. The only struggles I have, I was born in the United States. I'm actually originally from New York, so Texas is a different world to me. And in New York, it's like Austin, Texas. There's plenty of diversity, and Hispanics. It doesn't matter where you're from. We're one. We may not have certain dialect the same, but you'll understand the conversation if you're bilingual. And I was brought up that there's no color. You treat everybody the same, everybody with respect. It wasn't you stop somebody and say, "Hey, can you come in here?" No, you're right now discriminating against me. And I I can admit that I I used to be in the medical field back in New York, and I worked for predominantly Jewish doctors. So they had diversity come in, and when somebody came in that spoke Spanish, they would call me and say, "Hey, can you translate? Because I am bilingual." And some of the patients would say, "How come she's getting preferential treatment?" It's not preferential treatment. it she's just not understanding the language, and you would hear um some of the patients say, well, maybe she needs to go back to their country, and you too. And why? I said, last time I checked, where were you born? Because I'm a New Yorker. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I said, more American than me? I'm actually privileged to speak two languages. It was I learned how to speak Spanish. It wasn't I heard my grandparents speaking Spanish, my parents speaking Spanish, and that's why I learned how to speak Spanish. And I'm proud to be a Hispanic and be able to communicate to help out someone else, because here is where they shame you if you don't speak English, and we shouldn't be shamed. Don't We shouldn't be belittled. Just like Anna said, that Peruvian doctor in her country, she's probably royalty because of her title and treated a different way because she saves people's lives. Why does she have to be treated like an immigrant here? No, she's the same. We're all the same. There's no difference in that. No at all. And I've always stood up, and I'm not ashamed to say I'm Hispanic, and I help out the community, and I don't care what color you are, you black, white, yellow, because when we're feeding our friends on Thanksgiving, Christmas, during the year, we're not asking them for credentials. They're a human being just like you and I. They need a service, and we're offering it. And we are all volunteers. None of us get paid. What we do is our passion to help our community, to improve our community.
Thank you. Great, great words. Going back with the family and you guys working with the youth, you both definitely have a passion about, we need to be treat each other as we treat ourselves. And this is, seems to be what is important for everyone to believe that and to do that. What are some of the things that you tell your children? When, because at some point they get faced with some roadblock or someone being insensitive. What are some of the things that you tell your children when this happens?
So
You gonna talk?
at this level, I have grandchildren. So, but what I did tell my children is, you know what, maybe that person's having a rough day. Just let it be. Know who you are, the history that makes you you. And when somebody sees you, they don't only see you, they see your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents, and everybody else. So if you know that they were hard workers, they never stole anything from anybody, they didn't disrespect people, and they spoke up when they needed to, then that's what makes you you. You don't worry about a title from somebody that doesn't know. And by tomorrow, you got to live past this moment. So by tomorrow, you need to think about, is that person that had a rough day is going to cause you a problem? You need to leave that area and surround yourself with better people. What I say to my grandchildren. So my grandchildren, one came home the other day and said, well, that girl said that she didn't like my hair because it's a little bit curly. And so I said, well, I happen to like it. I said, and you know what? Let me remind you where your crown is at. So she lifted up her head. I always tell her, you carry a crown on your head. If you tilt your head forward, the crown's gonna fall off. You're a princess. She's straightened up. She's like, you're right, grandma. You know. So I mean, these are 7 and 9 year olds that I don't know how I sum things up is we can be a bank and hold on to treasure, and that's what we'll give out. But if we start accepting trash, then that's what exactly we're going to give back out. And so I choose not to. We do believe in recycling. So we live in a throwaway society that everything has to be now and now. But when you take care of a friend, they're going to be your friend for the rest of your life. And people that come in with words like that is usually somebody gave those to them. So what we did with that young lady, we went to the store and got a little gift, wrapped it up. I didn't even tell my granddaughter what it was. When she handed it to the little girl, they both were surprised. And they hugged, and now they're friends. They play together. It's just one of those situations. And as they grow, I'm sure the challenges will be different. Nowadays, you hear all this stuff going on in the schools, the TikTok issues, the toilets being destroyed. That stuff that we each, as leaders of our household to begin with, our families, we have to say, let's have a conversation about this. And let's make sure that you're not in this. Because the day that you get caught up in that, I'm going to go in your room and tear it up, see how you like that. Again, maybe I should share a little bit about me. I retired as a correctional officer. So I know about searching. I know about, being a little bit more strict. But at the same time, when you show somebody their boundaries, more than likely they'll follow them. And people think, oh, it's a restricted area, boundaries. No, it's a protected area. This is where you are. This is where you belong. This is where you will not be harmed. This is where you will not cause harm to. That's
Wonderful.
how that's how we operate in house.
No, that's wonderful. I mean, boundaries, or I actually worked in the juvenile justice field myself, so I get it. And so that what an awesome boundary, an awesome model that you're giving to your family and to the organization. And what advice would you give Miss Rodriguez? What
Well, I have a soon to be 20-year-old next month and a 10-year-old, big little gap. And a funny thing, and I'll tell you, we were having a LULAC meeting and we were electing we were electing members that day. And my 10-year-old, she's 10 now. she goes everywhere with me, and I would take her to LULAC meetings. And I think at the time she was 4, she's 10 now. And we were doing elections, and I think they were doing a vote that says, who should we vote for president? And my daughter raised her hand. She was 4. She's like, I want to be president. So she's Miss Miss President, and everybody laughed. But she was there. She listens and sees what's going on. And I think that even Anna's granddaughters, Autumn and Luna, they all grew up seeing us, the conception of these LULAC meetings. And I think it's great for them as young ladies because it empowers them that there's nobody below them. Everybody is equal. And if you have integrity, um, doing the right thing, even when nobody's looking, that's pretty good. And I tell that to my son. He's in his sophomore year of college. He's playing football in Connecticut, and he's with a certain group of kids, and I tell him, hey, you're away from home, but just because you're away from home doesn't mean you stray away from what I showed you at home, because at the end of the day, there's still profiling done for these young youths. And my son, he does not look like me. He looks more like my Latino family. So he's a little darker. His hair is a little bit curlier, and he's 6'1". And I tell him, if you just keep your nose out of trouble, in a sense, even if you're with the group, be the leader, not the follower. um, always keep integrity, honesty. And I said that's your best way of gonna cope with things. And I said, you're gonna find people don't agree with you all the time. Just agree to disagree
Mhm.
and keep the peace, because nobody is gonna agree 100% of the time, all the time. And I said, you just got to keep the peace. And that's his opinion. You have your opinion, and you keep it moving. At the end of the day, you got one goal. And if it's to play football and win the game, that's your goal, not your personal opinions. That shouldn't come to play on anything. And I always teach my kids that actions speak louder than words. I said, I don't care where you're at. If you see somebody that needs help, help them. And without me even telling my kids that, they could be watching an old couple come to the with groceries. My son will walk over to them and say, can I put those groceries in your car for you? Do you need me to open the door for you? And my 10-year-old is the same way. And it's the way you teach them a mannerism, and teach them there is no color in anything as well. I'll tell you that when my son was about, I want to say he was about 5, we were in Macy's. There used to be a Macy's in Temple, which they closed down. And it was on a Saturday. We were shopping, and there was this little old lady that I guess she had dementia. She was lost. And my son was in between the clothes while I was in the racks. And he came out, and I guess while I was looking through the racks, he was eyeing the old lady. And when I look up, he's holding the little old lady's hand in the green sweater. I remember it was a bright green sweater. And I said, Jonathan, what are you doing? He's like, she's lost. Can we bring her home? She says she doesn't eat much. And I said, we can't bring her home. We got to call somewhere. She's probably, and it was evident she had dementia. She didn't know where she was, the old lady. But he cried because I couldn't bring this little old lady home. And I said, no, we can't do that. And the little old lady, even throughout her dementia, she hugged my son and she says, you're going to be a fine young man one day. And I love you. And he's like, oh, I love you too. And he hugged, and she was a total stranger. But that puts into play the way we raise our kids. You got to have compassion. Doesn't matter what age you are. He what age you are, just be honest, and um have compassion, because that's part of being in the community. You can not have compassion for what you do. And I'm kind of proud of both of my kids, because they have that instilled in them, uh, the LULAC values and what we do as a community. And they're always willing to help a hand to anyone.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask both of you, before you joined LULAC, would you feel that you were both raised to have these morals, these ethics, and or did you find more more morals in the group? I mean, this is probably something that you've learned as a child, right? Or do you want to share a little bit about that?
So I guess I'll take the question first. I was raised in Lulac. My parents were in Lulac. So I'm actually a second generation of Lulacer. And so I tend to say that our family values, they're the same. It's like a magnet to the Lulac values. So they line up together. It's about taking care of familia is about taking care of your household. About I don't know, my mom used to say, you know what, somebody shows up and they're hungry, put a little bit of water in the beans and everybody eats. As opposed to you get a good portion and somebody comes in and they don't get anything. So values with Lulac is taking care of ourselves, taking care of each other, and when you take care of the next person, and then the next person takes care. So it's what do they call it? Pay it forward. So you're paying it forward, and so the values of being responsible for our community, of leaving it better than you found it, of just believing in the next person, and it ties in with your Christian values, ties in with your family values, and it just makes life so much more valuable. And so can't tell you like, oh, I joined and all of a sudden, I just it's I want to say that familia teaches you that at your dinner table. And then when you find an organization that is doing the same, and people say, well, a title is nothing. But in a situation where you're advocating for somebody else, a title opens up a lot of doors. And a title catches somebody's attention, like, oh, wait a minute. As a district director, when we get done with a case, I have to do a report to my state director that is in San Antonio. So this area covers like our district, our region is Region 17, District 17, and it covers from Lampasas to the edge of Houston. So you imagine the reports that have to be done, and what day you started it, what happened, were you able to resolve it without legal getting involved, or did you need additional resources, or if the case is still pending. So we can go into those situations where a child came up missing from a school, where a parent wasn't feeding their child. The child didn't have money in their lunch account, and then you end up finding out that there's domestic abuse going on, and so you think you're gonna handle something super simple, it ends up being um, bigger issue. But we tend to say we don't run from a problem, you run right into a problem, because if you're in it, then you're not gonna go through it by yourself. Well, we always say you're not by yourself. And so it ties back into the family values, that's what familia is. You do things together, you succeed together, and if you fail, fail together. But don't stay down. Get up again. Get up again. If you fall 7 times, get up on the eighth. Keep moving. Keep going forward. So again, those are our values, and when they line up with an organization that is there for the benefit of the community, it's just it's just a win-win. You ask me, are all my family members part of LULAC? Yes, they are.
Thank you.
That's our second family.
Thank you. La familia. And what about you, Miss Rodriguez?
I joined LULAC when I came to Texas. I did not have LULAC as an organization, but um, LULAC more or less the values and what it stands for. Um, I remember when I was in high school, um, there was an after school program and it was called Heavenly Angels. We were called the Heavenly Angels. And what we did was we helped the community. And in the Heavenly Angels, it was mostly Hispanics growing up. So we were the youth that went out to all the assisted living facilities. We gave them presents. We gave them hugs. We gave them things that they were shut in this room with other people alike and not knowing what kids were, what family were, because family members were too busy. And we were that happiness to them at least once a month. We were we would make stuffed animals with yarn and put buttons on them and give them out as gifts. And they were so happy just to have a present and see us kids there because it was freshmen to seniors there. So we had about 32 of us. So we used to do that. We used to go out in the community and help out if somebody needed something. And Lulac is more or less in the same, but a little level above high school. But we were already doing that in the community. And I just started doing it here. And going back to our culture, my mother's my grandmother and grandfather are from Puerto Rico, and they came to the United States in the 30s. 1930s, they came to New York. And my grandfather was a warehouse worker, and my grandmother was a homemaker. She didn't have any skills. My grandmother had an eighth grade education, but she could read and write in English. She was afraid to speak it, but and she understood everything. And she's the one that taught me how to really read Spanish because she would make me read the newspaper to her in Spanish. She would make me write the shopping list in Spanish. So even though with her eighth grade education, she was teaching me things that I didn't know. And my uncles, my mother's older brother, he was an electrical engineer, so he worked for the electric company. And then my second uncle, he owned it was more like they call it a bodega over there in New York. Over here would be like a fruit and vegetable kind of store, quick stuff. And he used to bring to my grandmother when you went to her house, if you asked for, oh, bring me some oranges, he brought you a case of orange. He brought you a case of apples. He brought you a case of bananas. And when he would do that, my grandmother would make bags, like separate bags, and she would go to all the neighbors on the block, whether she knew them or she didn't know them, and say, here, this is for your family. And my grandma lived in the South Bronx. There was buildings burned out everywhere, but her house was intact because even it's sad to say the crackheads, she would feed them. So they would protect her. Nothing would ever happen to my grandmother, her house, because she fed them. She would feed the whole block. And she instilled that in her kids. They instilled that in us, and we instill it in our kids. And it's given back to the community. It didn't matter if you had or you didn't have. We were there to help, and we were brought up in that culture. You give without expecting anything in return because you don't know what their circumstances are. Just expect nothing and just give. And that's the way we treat our kids. And LULAC is more or less in the same aspect. We don't ask questions of why do you need food? No. If you need it, we're there. And we will, if you need clothing, we'll find it for you. If you need food, we'll find it for you. If you need to, we find the resources to help out the people that do need it. And I think that being Latina and in it's a small group of folks, but there's many of us, but it was feed your neighbor and your neighbor feeds your neighbor. That is the culture we were brought up in, and that's what we continue to do. And I don't feel that that's a job for me, or I don't even think Anna feels like it's a job. It just comes natural. It's not like, oh, I gotta go. No. If you was to tell me today, hey, there's these 20 people around the corner that have been homeless for 2 days and haven't eaten. I guarantee you, me and Ann will be on that corner tonight with food and bags and stuff for them because we want to help them. So we just continue to help the community and reach out.
I This is such a wonderful point that both of you are making. I just got finished reading Joe Hernandez's book, Little Joe and La Familia, because he will be speaking with here at the college next Tuesday. And after reading his life story that started generations before, it helped me to understand the term La Familia. And I can so see this the, that you don't even think you do, and you see the community, our community, as a whole, and that is so refreshing. Do you feel like that is part of the moral that you were raised with, the seeing more as a whole rather than individual people, like I'm only going to help Hispanic or help poor or whatever? How do y'all feel about that?
So I started school in El Paso, and you talking about in 72, 73, they were still going through the segregation process, desegregation. And I got in trouble for drinking water in the whites only fountain. And so I was like, well, my shirt was white, but I did not understand the undercurrents because I was a kid. And so in growing up, it's if something is done against you, you can turn around and do it right back. Now it becomes a fight. When somebody does it against you and you turn around and you help that community, now it becomes your victory. So we tend to live in that victory because if we do it to somebody else, then we're re establishing a foundation for it to continue, for it to grow, multiply, and the next generation will repeat the history that our parents broke that. They broke that, and us in our daily walk, we walk with our brothers and our sisters to the left, to the right, and in your building, in your college, if we start segregating this person from this person because their skin color, because their language, you're never gonna finish. The reason I'm saying is you're never gonna finish because I might have a sister that's married to a German, and now you don't want the German, so now that child, you can't cut that child in half. See? So what we can do, we can work together as a complete unit and benefit. We either learn from our mistakes, learn from our weaknesses, but let's learn from each other, respect each other, and grow together because that is where our unity is at. We are the United States of America. We're not divided states of America. So our history strengthen us. Our history should tell us, yes, there was a struggle. Somebody overcame it. So you can have a better tomorrow. When you come up with a struggle, what's your struggle? You don't have to walk 3 miles to go to school. You don't have to do that. You're more than likely going to get on a bus and cross that major street to get to your school. You're not going to be walking in bad weather. And, it's a lot of challenges that our parents went through that we won't have to. And yet, our generation is not facing what the next generation is going to have to face. You had a conversation, we wouldn't be able to be on this phone. When my grandparents said, you will pay $1 or more for bread, we were paying 15 cents, we're like, something's wrong with grandpa. Maybe he's hitting a bottle or something. But it's happening. It's happening. You're going to be able to see somebody that you're talking to We're like, that's not going to happen. Because we were dealing with the phones that you had to do the little dial and wait for it to go back and dial the next number. So we're looking like, está loco. My grandpa, he's skipped out. And so, but that's what we're living now. Now, the next generation, they might be able to go up to Mars. They might be able to go, 2-3 day trip. We're thinking it's a big deal to get on a plane and go to Hawaii, and they're going to be on a spaceship to go up to outer space. So every generation does accomplishes, but my prayer is that every generation does not forget that together we're better.
That you just answered my question. My next question I was going to ask you was, what do you feel is important to tell the next generation?
That's where it's at. If somebody was to get sick right now, you're not gonna call and say, "Well, only send me Latino because I only speak Spanish." You can't do that. When your life is in somebody's hands, whoever comes to help, welcome them. If we can live our daily life like that, because everybody goes through challenges, everybody's gonna go through trials and tribulations. And I pray that when you're in a strong point, that you can turn around and help them. And then when they get in a strong point and you need their help, they can turn around and help. And that's what makes community. Without unity, you don't have community.
I agree. Any thoughts, Ms. Rodriguez?
I was gonna touch on I instill my kids and the future generation because now we are so electronically inclined. We talk to people via text, email. There are so many other avenues to talk to a person. And my advice is don't lose that human touch, don't lose that human communication, because not everybody is going to be involved, such as the older folks. They're not in tune with technology. They still would love probably a postcard, a letter, a handwritten letter. And we can't let our generations to come forget about those human touches, because that is still part of being united, not just modern technology. Modern technology is great, but what about those that aren't in tune with modern technology? We still gotta write a letter, whether we want to mail something in the mail, not email, put postage on it. Uh, things like that. Don't lose touch that not everybody is up to date with what's going on, because then we're going to leave our grandfathers, grandmothers, aunts and uncles behind, because they just keep moving up in technology. Still reach out and touch these folks, because they still need love and care and understanding, just like we are, to keep us united.
Agreed. How do you both see Lulac and your own personal lives 10, 20 years from now? What do you see accomplished that you definitely could determine you're going to do?
So as far as Lulac, 10 years from now, I want to say we should be able to address the immigration reform. You would.
Oh, we can't hear you. Yeah, you must have got a call. Wait, we can't hear you.
Am I back? Can you hear
Yes, you're back.
me? Okay, sorry about that. We have the issues with the DACA students that are kind of in limbo right now. These are students that are in our country because their parents brought them so early in life that they don't have family. To open up that pathway for them to get their documents in order so that they won't fall prey to the corporations, the companies that are going to hire them for what their less than what their work is worth, and make sure that they have their insurance benefits. as Americans, where we have our insurance, Social Security, we have our benefits when we retire. Uh, they're exchanging their youth, and in a sense, they're in limbo because they can't really work. They're going to school as best they can. Um, so we need to make sure that that's taken care of. We need to make sure that there's when you have a child that's separated from their parents, that doesn't happen. We understand there's different situations where maybe a child is brought in with a family that they don't belong in, and in a sense they're being trafficked and traded. So human trafficking, we need to address that. So LULAC is involved in that. We need to address redistricting that is based on the census. And a lot of times it is a target to the Latino community, to the African American community. Because why? Because when you look at a city, the areas that are the less priced, I guess you can say, the houses are usually the ones that are next to railroad tracks. And that's usually where our Latino families are settling. Why? Because of the price. Because that's your income level. But that doesn't mean that that child growing up in that household doesn't have what it takes to succeed. That's going to limit you. The house, the walls can limit you if you allow it, but you have that can-do spirit in you, and you will succeed, regardless what size house you came from. So the size of the fight is what you need to be concerned about, and the size of the prize. The house, not so much. And if you are raising a house that you have bunk beds everywhere, but you had a home, that's where the value is at. So value familia, value a future, and value your worth. Because a lot of people are working without documentation. A lot of people are giving their best. And right now, I'm retired from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I can't say the same of other family members in Mexico that are older than me, that are still having to get up to go to work, because if they don't work, there is no income. But we live in this great nation, regardless of who sits in the White House. We live in a great nation that every one of us has the capacity to succeed. We have choices to make, and we can do the immediate gratification, and that's as far as it's going to go. Or you can be dedicated, put your all into it, stick it out, bring that fight that is in you, and make a better tomorrow, not only for yourself, but the next generation that's coming behind you. That's what's going to matter. And what do we want out of Lulac? We want Lulac to be a household name. We are a civil rights organization. When you hear about NAACP, you need to hear about Lulac. So with the issue with Vanessa Guillen, Lulac Herencia Council had the ink in its hand that wrote the history of Vanessa Guillen. The nation, it didn't stay right here in Killeen. The nation and beyond knows about Vanessa Guillen. And what we're still waiting on is on that bill, the Vanessa Guillen bill, to be written into law to protect our service members, our present, and our future. And I'm saying service members because it's not the Army and it's not Fort Hood. It's throughout the nation. Because when this is happening, we're getting letters and emails from somebody who will say, I am Vanessa Guillen. And they were retired military. Ladies, gentlemen, I am Vanessa Guillen. It happened in their generation. And it's a known problem, but nobody would address it. And this council stood up and said, Mrs. Gloria Guillen, we stand with you, and we're going to be here for you. And we're going to get you answers. And not just any answer, we're going to get you the right answers. And I'm saying, without God's favor, without people paying attention, one person can stand on a corner and scream all day long, and it's not going to make a difference. But when the pueblo, when the community comes together and says, enough. That is exactly what? Enough. Enough of the silent battles, enough of these invisible wounds that our soldiers, service members are going through. It's enough. And I didn't serve in the military, but I'm going to tell you what, my ink, my pen, my computer, my keyboard is a double-edged sword. We're going to get rid of that. We're going to bring in programs that are going to be effective. We are going to make sure our service members are protected. Because why? Because they matter to us. If they are not of sound mind and body, we're as weak as our weakest, or we can be as strong as our strongest. We walk in victory, or are we going to walk in defeat? We choose victory.
And it's interesting to note that you say the invisible wounds. Right now, our library has an art exhibit called Invisible Wounds, and it's of soldiers. So, yeah, definitely come and check that out. And Miss Rodriguez, how do you see Lulac? And I mean, Miss Carilla Tapia, that was just amazing what you said. But if you want to add to this as well, 10 years from now, how do you see Lulac, the council, you personally?
10 years from now, I hope that our minority, because that's what we're considered minority, um, are no longer considered that in that category because we're Latino don't mean we can't be a doctor, an engineer, a scientific astronaut. It doesn't limit us because we're Latinas or Latinos. And there's so much out there. And what I would like to see in 10 years from now, that our kids and their kids and the kids to follow and grandkids, that they reach out and use the tools available in education. There are scholarships, there are programs. Don't let money limit you to expand what you can learn and become.
Awesome. Awesome. You both, you're so inspiring. I can feel the passion. I can feel um, uh, I can understand that you are not alone, that it's the whole family, the whole community and everything, support of each other that needs to take place. And I love the fact that both of you have such amazing and positive goals, and you see where all this hard work is, you're just going to keep going and going and going and going, and I commend you both. I commend your organization. I Just an inspiration to our college. So we thank you. Before we start wrapping up, do either one of you have some like closing thoughts? This has been an event that has helped our community. Um, listen, listen to people in our community and listen to their story and listen to their organization. Is there something you would like to tell everyone?
So I tend to say, and I say it quite often, that your heritage, skin color, first language does not define a minority. Minority is a person or group that sees the hungry, homeless, the abused, corruption, and injustice, and does nothing. So I don't consider myself a minority, and I pray that nobody sees himself as a minority, because your skin color you cannot change. Your first language you certainly can't. And so if you see these things happening and you take part in making that change happen, you're definitely not a minority, because your skin color, I don't even know why that word exists. I don't even know. And so in a perfect world, I would get rid of that word. And for anybody that would like to join us, we meet every second Monday, as God allows, at the Harker Heights Rec Center at 6 p.m. And everybody is welcome. If you're a person that wants to be involved, that is looking somewhere to serve, make a difference, please come on out. I know that the pandemic is here, but there are still needs to be met. During the winter, we help run a warming station for our neighbors. Because why? Because we live in a city, we live in an area that has some people that are transient, and when the weather hits, it doesn't care who it affects, but we care. And so if you don't have the time to come out and volunteer and you're able to bring and maybe contribute with some hats, I don't like to say donation because the word donation sounds like a big black pit that nothing happens there. But when you contribute, that means that we're moving this forward. It leaves your hand, but it never leaves your future. So you can contribute with any non-perishable items. You can contribute with maybe hats, gloves, socks, jackets. And so everybody has a closet that probably needs to be cleaned out every now and then. We work with Miss Janice Taylor over at Monster Housing in Killeen off of near the downtown post office. And so we partner with them. We've hit some bad heat waves as well. And so we give out water, we give out, we give up hope. How about that? We give out hope. We give out, and even though we might be wearing those masks, your eyes can still smile. So that's where we are. We also have a program for Latinas, for young girls, and they're over, Liz, over there at Minerva School.
Oh, yes. We have a program, and I gave the link to Lee so that she can post it. But we have a program for the young Latina ladies, and it's a STEM program, and it's sponsored by, we're the host of it, Lulac, and it's free. Just need to get those young ladies involved. And for those of you that don't know what STEM is, science, tech, engineering, arts, and math, because these are the kind of careers we would like our future young ones to get involved in, because they need strong Latinos as well to be part of this growing, advancing community. That they are as smart as everybody else. So we have the STEM program. We also have the gala. We do a lot of fundraising and take donations. And when we say we take donations, we're not taking it for ourselves. We give it back to the community, because Anna's also part of HARP, the homeless seniors.
Awareness.
Yes. And the seniors that are displaced, we give them a picture with their cap and gowns. We provide that. Touch on that, Anna.
So we partner with the Killeen Independent School District, the Homeless Awareness Response Program. So we have our youth, and they're overcoming obstacles, but they're sticking it out with their education. And that to us, it is admirable. There's a lot of children, there's a lot of youth that have ignored the timing for them to be in school, and they bypass that, and well, I'll just get a GED later, and then later doesn't seem to show up at their door. So when they do, hey, hopefully we'll have a program for that too. Because why? Because we want everybody to move forward. In the words of Cesar Chavez, we all move forward together, or we don't move at all. So we partner with the Homeless Awareness Response Program. We gift them their cap and gown package. So we partner also with Educated Angels. There are photographers. And I promise you, whoever gets involved, you will not leave without crying, because somebody will come and tell you, thank you for doing this. This freed up some money for me to be able to pay the water bill. It was either the graduation package or a bill. And these children are homeless. They're homeless, according to the Venti ruling, which means you don't have control over the door being open for you tonight. You know, you and I, we open that door and we have the key in our key ring. These youngsters don't, for whatever reason, whether it's a family got displaced, whether they ran away, whether it, you know, it's we can't solve everybody's problem, but if we can help you through it, and we can help you see your value, so you can continue and succeed. We've seen this is our 8th year that we've been in this council, and 8 classes. We've seen 2 students come back. One went to the military and came back and said, "Hey, guess what I'm doing now? I'm a captain in the army." So you think that doesn't bless us? That's beautiful. You know, you have another young person that says, "Hey, you know what? I did this and I went to college and then now I'm going for my bachelor's. Now I'm going and I started my family. I took a break, but this is what I'm doing." And for them to say, "Thank you for believing in me." Somebody said, "Why do a graduation package? They're homeless. Where are they going to hang it at?" That is question is going to get a frown from me, because homelessness is not does not define a person. It defines
Absolutely.
a situation. And so that young person is going to grow up one day to be the head of a household, the head of a corporation, the commander in chief, whoever this child decides to be. Sky's the limit, and then beyond, because you know what? There's footsteps on the moon.
Such inspiring words. I am just I feel truly blessed that we had you today to come and talk with us. And you did, Miss Rodriguez, you said that you put the link, gave it to Lee so that she could put it in uh, the comments. So hopefully, guys,
Absolutely.
yeah, go you check out your LULAC council and talk to these ladies, talk to the people there. It sounds like there's a family waiting for you to talk to them, and they're doing such great things for our community. So I am so glad that you have come to talk with us today. So we're going to be wrapping up now, but I thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with us today. Um, we have more. We on Wednesday we have the Fort Hood LULAC Council that will be coming to talk. So you will be finding more stories and more information. We also have tomorrow 2 cooking shows. One from Chef Lapita, and she's got the most amazing, and I wish everybody could taste it. I got a chance to taste it because we pre-taped that one, her food. Next week we have Little Joe in La Familia, but we have just Little Joe, and he's going to talk to us about his life story. And then that's on Tuesday, next Tuesday, and next Wednesday we have a poetry slam all in Spanish. So
Oh,
for our
wow.
Spanish students that are going to be competing against one another. So thank you again so much for joining us today. We we've learned so much. I've learned so much. And we're gonna, even though we're gonna get out of our live stream, ladies, stay there. Don't hang up yet. Okay.
Absolutely.
Um,
I just wanted to touch base. Anybody that wants to be involved with LULAC or wants to donate and or be hands-on, um, you can contact our organization. We'll gladly sign you up. As Anna said, we meet every second Monday at 6 p.m. at the Harker Heights Community Center. And we all everything that we get is to give back. And uh, we it, there there's no such thing as we don't have, because each member will go in their pocket if need be, because our if our future is successful, we succeeded in accomplishing what we needed to do. So please reach out to us. We're here, and we would love for you to be a part of the group. We're always looking for members to want to volunteer and be head of our fundraiser, be head of our other things going on. There's always openings and space for everybody and anyone. I thank you.
well, Well,
I'd like
thank
to
you.
add
Oh,
our council is called Lulac Herencia. Herencia meaning heritage, and everybody's heritage brings you to where you're at. And then the heritage also starts with you, because that's what you're going to lay foundation for the next generation as well. So I want to say that our organization, we have a first name and a last name. So we're on Facebook, Lulac Herencia 4297, and you can give us a like. We appreciate that.
a lot of likes. Definitely. So thank you again, ladies. And you guys, you're so busy. I know we dragged you in from your busy, busy day, but we really truly appreciate that you have come to share with us, and help us and help our community, our CTC community, our Colleen, our Central Texas community, and our global community understand that there is help out there. So we really, truly appreciate it. We're going to be taken out right now, and we will see everybody tomorrow at same time and noon. All right. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye. Thank you.